My recent vacation mantra was go with the flow. And this is important advice, not just on vacation, but also in life. Hi there, I'm Dr. Santina or Tina Wheat. I'm a family physician educator and a career and life coach who is dedicated to helping healthcare workers conquer their chaos and get to calm. And today I'm sharing some thoughts about how the lessons that I learned on a recent family vacation apply to the rest of our everyday life. Now, my family and I just got back from an amazing trip. It took years for us to get all of the pieces together to make sure that everyone could go. It was an extended family trip, which we had never done before. And it was an opportunity to go all the way across the world to some place that my children and I had never been. Now, there were several things that did not go quite as planned on this trip. The first being just getting everyone there. We had planned this trip for 6 of us, and one of our family members almost wasn't able to make it. And we didn't have confirmation until literally 4 days before we were supposed to take off that she was coming. That meant that one of our other family members actually had two itineraries because she was originally supposed to travel with her daughter and then ended up being rerouted with us and then back to traveling with her daughter. So there was that bit of anxiety to the last minute of who was actually going. So as we were getting ready to take off on this trip, my advice to my girls and my husband was, we just need to go with the flow. My family is no stranger to travel. We've done several international trips over the past few years as we have taken on the mentality of we have to enjoy our time together and be able to experience things across the world. But we had never traveled with our family members before. And so that on its own meant that we needed to rethink how we were traveling. We were going across the world to Korea, so it was 14 hours ahead of our time zone. And so had we prepared for that inevitable jet lag and wanting to do things despite being tired, to wanting to see everything, and then also just everyone having different interests. And as two busy parents who live chaotic lives, it's hard for us to go with the flow. But still, this was the mantra that I kept saying over and over, and it applied not just to the vacation, but to life in general. So let's start with the trip that almost didn't happen. I already mentioned that one of our family members struggled to actually get confirmation that she could go, and then we were thrilled to hear that she was coming. But then there was a problem with the flight and there were delays for 2 days. So my little family of four were waiting for our other family members for 2 days as they tried to figure out how to get there. There were flight delays, there were cancellations, there was a whole bunch of different things that happened. And this meant not just problems with them getting there, but trips that had already been booked that needed to be rescheduled, that we lost money on. And while money is not a big deal, it meant that there were experiences that we were planning to have that didn't actually happen. Additionally, it meant that the jet lag set in for people at different times. So when we were ready to do things, our extended family weren't necessarily. And we had to constantly monitor and adjust our plans for that trip. And then there were the challenges of we were just interested in different things. We also had my daughter who was as young as 10, my mother-in-law who was in her 70s, and then ages all in between. And so this meant that everyone had different hopes and expectations for this trip. And so by only day 3, I found myself reflecting on how the challenges and strategies that we needed for this trip are true for our schedules in general. So lesson number 1 from this trip was overscheduling steals the joy. It is really easy to want to say, I need to get something done in every single minute of the day. This is true on vacation when you think that you have to see absolutely everything, that you have to hit every important spot. This is true in our workday when we feel like we have to fill every single minute of our calendar with something that has to be done, whether it's a project, whether it's patient care, whether it's a meeting. Feeling the need to fill every single moment can be true both at work and on vacation. And it is not good in either place. We have to leave space because when we overschedule, it steals the joy, it steals the fulfillment. And on vacation, it makes your vacation feel like work, which leads me to my second strategy of build in space for things to go wrong. When your schedule is packed, there is no time for the unexpected, for the inevitable emergency, for the person who doesn't feel well. When you leave room for the unexpected, then the setbacks don't hit quite so hard. On vacation, this might mean leaving time for that tour that runs over, or for that train that took longer than you anticipated, or that flight delay that you just couldn't anticipate. At work, this might mean leaving intentional blocks in your schedule, not just as work time, but as buffer time. That might mean that you have time to go to the bathroom, that you have time for that conversation that you weren't planning for that needs to be a crucial conversation. There are so many things that can happen in the day, and leaving those breaks can be shock absorbers for all that is happening in your day to day. The next important lesson is that rest is not wasted time. This is one that my husband and I tend to argue about when we're on vacation. I have gotten to the point that I demand times where we can have downtime and recover. And I think that this is my hill. We have to have that time to recover. When we're overscheduled, then that feels like work, like I just mentioned. And when you cannot rest enough to enjoy the next day, then that makes that vacation feel not so amazing. And that doesn't mean this is time to lay on your bed and do nothing. That might be that you have time to wander around, sit at a cafe and enjoy a cup of coffee, or as we experienced in Korea, a cup of green tea. Some of the best moments that we had on our vacation were the ones where we just sat at a meal or sat having a treat or a cup of coffee and talked about the things that we enjoyed, or talked about memories that we've had before, or what we wanted to do next. Those opportunities to connect in different ways. That time was rest, and that time was some of the best on our trip. At work, this might mean ensuring that you have a full weekend day with no obligations. It might mean ensuring that you have that full lunch break to go for a walk or just have time for yourself. It might mean taking 5 minutes after that difficult patient interaction so that you can breathe and reset before you go on to the next patient. No matter where it is, the rest is essential. The next lesson is everyone's needs matter. I mentioned that we had folks from 10 to in their 70s on our vacation, and everyone wanted to see something different. So when planning the schedule, in order for everyone to be happy, we really needed to take everyone's perspectives into consideration as we were making plans. And so that meant one person couldn't do all of the planning without checking in with others. We had to make sure that everyone had the time to do the things that they wanted to. And this is true at work too. You have to make sure that at meetings, everyone has having their perspective heard, that they're having their educational needs met, that they feel like they have the opportunity to collaborate in different ways. It is reminding yourself that everyone works at a different pace, everyone thinks in a different way, and everyone has different needs. When you don't take that all into consideration, it just builds frustration on all ends. This trip reminded me that flexibility is important, not just on vacation, but always in our day-to-day. And as someone who has had to really push herself to be flexible, I think that this is a really important lesson to take with you. Here are the things that I am carrying forward from this trip, both for future vacations and for every day. The first is to not overschedule. The second is to prioritize rest. The third is to plan for and expect the unexpected. And the fourth is to consider everyone's needs. If you are able to do these things, then you will find more joy and fulfillment at work and on vacation. And remember, sometimes the best memories and the best moments that we have are the ones that we don't plan for. If this resonated with you, then I hope that you will like this video and share with others. And then remember to subscribe to my channel so that you're notified of the next videos that come up. If you are looking for ways to incorporate simple practices into your life to conquer that chaos and get to calm, then I hope you'll consider my free on-demand webinar, Simple Practices to Create Calm in a Demanding Career. Thanks again for joining me today.